This is Ashton Hall, and he's known for being a fitness influencer and having one of the best morning routines in the world.
So looking at it, bro, we gotta go ahead and get in at least 10,000.
You see, recently Ashton has gone viral for his use of banana peels and ability to manipulate time. But although Ashton Hall is currently living the good life, at one point, he used to have bigger dreams. Because it turns out that Ashton Hall was once a really good running back in high school. But back then, he wasn't doing all the right things to get better, and he never got a chance to live out his true potential on the field. So today, I am putting Ashton Hall into college football 25. Let's see what would have happened if he locked in just a little bit earlier, as well follow him on his road to glory. Now, coming out of high school, it was very important to Ashton to get better and one day make it to the pros. The thing is, though, he was not highly recruited going into college, and no matter where he chose to go, he was going to have to work his way up regardless. But he was deciding to go wherever he felt like he can get the chance to play sooner. So when it came to Ashton Hall's college decision, he decided to sign with Akron. Now, going into college, Ashton Hall felt like he was locked in and ready to go. He was out there at practice doing pretty well, but the coaches definitely saw that he had a lot to improve on. So they decided to make him the fourth string halfback, and it looked like he was not going to see the field at all his first season. He was missing out on a big chunk of games, and during this time, he wasn't doing nothing about it. This man was just scrolling through Tinder, he was late on his bills, and he was trying to play some video games, but he was trash at that too. Just see, one day Ashton realized that he had to make a change. So now he decided that he's going to wake up early in the morning, do some push-ups, do whatever this was, and whatever that is, and it was going to help him on the field. Because the coaches had noticed an improvement in not just how he played, but also his physique. In just a couple months, this man gained 40 pounds of muscle. And although he would still go on to sit out a few more games, one day at practice, the coaches really began to see the true potential in him. And by the end of it, they had no choice but to move him up to the third string halfback. Now, he still did not get much of a chance at all to play in the next game, but going into the following week, he was now getting a chance to be the backup running back. And with Ashton Hall now seeing the importance of dipping his face into a bowl of ice filled with Saratoga water, this man was going crazy in practice. So the coaches had seen enough to decide to make him the backup running back for the rest of the season. As a true freshman, Ashton Hall had locked in, and he's finally earning some playing time. After 10 weeks and a surprisingly impressive winning streak from his team, Ashton is finally going to get a chance to make an impact on this offense. And his first opportunity will come in his next game against Buffalo. Ashton Hall was finally making his college football debut halfway through the first quarter. And on his very first carry, he takes his handoff and fumbles the ball. Now, luckily, he does pick it up, but the coaches immediately take him out. But when he got back in, Ashton was not feeling too bad about his mistake, as he wasn't the only one fumbling. But later on in the first, he would get another chance to make an impact. And not only was he coming up with his first career catch, but did you guys see that? It went from 1 minute to the end of the first quarter while he was in the air. He literally jumped at 136 and he didn't land until 140. He different. His morning routine has allowed him the ability to manipulate time on the field. And because of that, I think that's why the coach decided to put him down at the goal line, where he takes his handoff to the outside and gets in for his first touchdown of his career. A big score that actually gets his team the lead late in the third quarter. And I don't know if you guys see that right there, but he's actually telling people that we gotta wake up at 3:50. That's what he's trying to say right there. But after Akron's defense comes up with a stop, Ashton's score actually turns out to be enough to put this game away. Akron goes on to win this game 21-17. And Ashton Hall had a pretty good game as he got his first touchdown of his career. But a lot of people were still talking about that play where he jumped over a guy. I mean, they just couldn't believe that he was in the air for 4 minutes.
I kid you not, bro. I was really in the air for 4 minutes.
And it's probably because of that play that the very next week, Ashton was now getting a chance to be the starting running back for the Akron Zips. And in practice, man, he was going crazy. I mean, he was out there trying to get at least 10,000 on every play. So after an incredible day at practice, Ashton Hall had now earned a spot as the starting running back for Akron. But going into the rest of the season, he was still looking forward to working hard on his skills. And he would have to in order to help keep his team's winning streak alive. As in their next game, Akron was heading on the road to match up against Northern Illinois. Now on his first carry of the game, this man got dropped in the backfield for a safety. A horrible way to start this game as his team soon goes down 5. But they were starting to fight their way right back as they were heading downfield. And towards the end of the first, things were looking great as Ashton was getting a lot of yards on his carry, but then the linebacker said to block and made him fumble. But you know what, actually, when you take a closer look at it, it looked like he did that on purpose. Y'all see that right there? See, he threw the ball because he knew his teammate was going to get it. You see, Ashton Hall, he's just different. And that's why he earned himself a touchdown at the end of this drive, getting in for the first one of the game for his team to make the 7-5. Now, when Akron got the ball back, it wouldn't be long before they would start driving back downfield, but they would eventually get stopped on third down in the red zone. But on the following drive, after they got some help from the defense by getting a pass interference, they had a little bit of momentum going after that, and Ashton Hall was taking advantage. He got his team down to the goal line with 11 seconds left in the half, and he actually made a catch over the middle for a touchdown that extends his team's lead further. Akron was coming out in the second half up 21-6, and they were not showing any mercy on the opening possession, as they had unleashed Ashton Hall on this defense, and he was pretty much single-handedly working his way downfield for his team. He got him all the way back down to the goal line to set him up with another score. And after on the very next play he jumps in for the easy touchdown, he had done enough to help his team win another game. Akron goes on to win this game 31-12. It was actually a game where Ashton goes on to win player of the game for the first time, as he went for 162 yards and 4 touchdowns. An incredible performance that earns him MAC Player of the Week. But you see, Ashton still has a lot to improve on, man, so he's still out there working. He knows he has a lot of responsibility as the starter now, so even though he makes some mistakes from time to time, he's going to keep working through it and try to help his team come away with another win. As in their next game, they're heading back on the road for an in-state rivalry against Kent State. Now, this game did not get started off well at all, as Kent State was not only up by 7, but they also caught a pick on Akron's opening possession. And it did not get a whole lot better towards the end of the first quarter, as the quarterback got sacked, fumbled, and then Kent State picked it up for a touchdown. So this was about as bad of a start as you can get, as Akron was now down by 14, but at least in the second quarter, Ashton Hall was starting to get things going for them. He helped to move his team right towards the goal line, where on second down and goal, this man was able to dive in for a touchdown to get them back in this game. Because after they got the ball back in the second half down by 7 points, they now had a chance to tie it up. But after failing on another third down, they go back down 14. And things are definitely not looking good for Akron before the quarterback throws a dime to a receiver, coming up with a score that puts us back at a one-possession game. And now in the fourth quarter, Akron's really having a chance to tie it up after they get the ball with great field position. On first and goal, he was able to take this handoff to the right side and get it around the edge for a touchdown, finally tying this game back up at 21, and he was waving to the crowd of approximately 0 people to rub it in. Because when the offense got the ball back still tied, Ashton was out there saying, "Shablock, get off," and coming up with huge plays to move his team downfield. Man, this dude Ashton was absolutely different. And after he stiff-armed this one dude to the dirt on third down, he moved his team in field goal range and had finally done enough to put this game away, as Akron goes on to squeak this one out 24-21. And Ashton Hall goes on to win another player of the game with 142 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, earning himself another MAC Offensive Player of the Week, but unfortunately he had not done enough to earn his team a spot in the playoffs. But with only 1 game left in the regular season, it turns out that Ashton Hall is actually doing a lot better than the other running backs. The coaches realized that Ashton was not just a better player, but he was just overall better prepared, because he knew about Ashton Hall's morning routine. But it turns out that every football game, including their next one against Toledo, is just another routine for Ashton Hall. You see, by 12 o'clock, this game finally begins. By 12:33, this offense may not be able to get nothing going, but that's all good because by 1 o'clock, you better believe that they are now. At 1:03, Ashton Hall is taking his handoff to the right side and running into the end zone for a touchdown. And at 1:23, Ashton Hall was out there saying, "Hey," breaking a dude's ankle and picking up a first down. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what's going on here, but that's... Hey, yo. At 1:25, though, right before halftime, Ashton is also saying "Chablang" and moving his way across the goal line for another touchdown on the day. And by 2:57, he was taking a handoff to the right side before disappearing to the shadow realm and then reappearing on his way towards the end zone for a touchdown. And now by 3 o'clock, he had finally done enough to put this game away. 22nd ranked Akron goes on to close the season out with a 21-14 victory. And once again, Ashton Hall had done his thing with another 100-plus yard performance and 3 touchdowns. This dude was really starting to make a name for himself as he got another MAC Offensive Player of the Week and even helped get his team into the MAC Conference Championship. And it was a game that his team was going to have to win if they had any chance of making the college football playoffs. Luckily, though, all that ice water was helping Ashton improve on his skills quickly. So going into the conference championship, this man was locked in and ready to help his team come away with a victory against Miami of Ohio. To start this game, this offense was moving swiftly down the field, and it was largely due to Ashton out there saying, "Give me that," taking people's ankles on the way for a first down, and then taking a reception on the way towards the end zone, getting in for a score that gives his team the early 7-0 lead. But things would not stay looking good for the offense, as they would end up getting stopped on third down, and eventually they would end up getting the ball backed up on their own 1-yard line. So in the biggest game of the year, man, Ashton Hall realized that his team needed him. So he decided that he was going to go out there and say, "Hey," and then just run away from everybody. Man, there was nobody that was going to catch Ashton Hall down the sideline as he raced towards the end zone for a touchdown. He was getting in for a score that extended his team's lead right before half. But after halftime, with the offense not playing as well, Miami would eventually find their way back in this game. Leading us to the fourth quarter, where on this 3rd and 4, Ashton was doing enough to move the chains with a first down, but almost gave it away with a fumble. So the coaches actually decided to take him out. But after Miami fails to score any points, Akron goes on to win the MAC Conference Championship, finishing this game off 17-14, and it was actually a game where Ashton Hall goes for over 200 yards rushing. An incredible game where he also went for 90 yards receiving. But after winning the conference championship, the regular season is now over, and it is time to give out some awards. It turns out that not only the head coach, but the offensive coordinator goes on to win a coaching award. They definitely did a good job with this team even before Ashton Hall started playing, so they for sure deserve those. Now when it comes to the Heisman, it turns out that Shedeur Sanders goes on to win. And that was pretty cool, but what was even better was the fact that Ashton Hall went on to win first team All-MAC. He had rushed for 690 yards and 9 touchdowns in just a handful of games. For a freshman, this was pretty astounding, which is probably why he went on to win Freshman All-American, and after earning his team a bye week, it turns out that he will have a chance to play in the college football playoffs. So Ashton Hall is about as locked in as he's ever been throughout his entire life. This man had NFL dreams. And after starting out as only a 3-star recruit, by the end of his freshman season, he was proving to be capable of leading his team to the playoffs. But now it's just about whether he can lead his 1-star program to a win against one of the best teams in the country. As in the first round of the playoffs, Akron is set to face off against Texas A&M. Now Akron had actually come in this game as the 48-point underdog. Pretty much everybody thought they were about to get their cheeks clapped to smithereens throughout this game. But with the help of Ashton Hall, man, it did not look like that was about to be the case early, as he helped lead his team all the way down to the goal line, and on 1st and goal, he was able to dive across for a touchdown, putting the first points on the board in this playoff game as he puts his team up by 7. And it would be a score that they would get a chance to extend after they get the ball back in the second quarter. It did look like they were on their way to doing that before the quarterback throws a pick, taking points off the board that definitely would have helped the team, and now they were heading into halftime down by 3. Things weren't looking too bad at first as Ashton was able to pick up some first downs, but ultimately it was starting to look like Texas A&M's defense was way too much for Akron, because they would end up getting stopped on 3rd down, and now late in the 3rd quarter they are down by 10 points. And if it wasn't for this play on 3rd down and 4 where Ashton Hall comes up with a huge reception as he's breaking off tackles and moving his team well across midfield, then Akron may have already been out of this game. But Ashton Hall was out there single-handedly making plays that were not only getting first downs but touchdowns, getting in for a score that brings his team back within 3 points in the 4th quarter. But after Texas A&M scores a field goal, now Ashton Hall is having to come up with some big plays all throughout this drive. One here on 3rd down that moves his team deep into enemy territory. And now here on 4th and 5, he is having to come up with another big play where somehow he's able to make the catch. He is keeping this game alive for his team. And now with less than 10 seconds left, the quarterback trusts him again as he gets in the ball and he gets across the goal line for a touchdown. Ashton Hall has scored a touchdown with less than 10 seconds left in this playoff game, giving his team the lead and doing enough to send Akron to the next round. Akron goes on to close this game out 21-20, and it was a game where Ashton Hall did not have his best performance for sure. Well, at least as a runner, because as a receiver, he had 18 receptions and almost 200 yards. That's probably why Akron went on to win their first playoff game in school history, led by Ashton Hall, who wins his first National Offensive Player of the Week. But now, heading into the next round of the playoffs, it looks like this matchup was about to get way harder. So Ashton Hall was out there preparing with another nice little morning routine for me. He was doing his thing because he had to get prepared for the biggest game of his life. Akron was about to head into a game where they were bigger underdogs than they were the last game. But on the bright side, they had a chance to make history. The only way they do that, though, is if they find a way to come away with the win in their next game against the Oregon Ducks. Now to start this game, the Akron Zips were playing well initially, but by the end of their opening drive, it was 3rd down and they were getting stopped. And if it wasn't for Oregon giving great field position on their next drive, Akron would probably have 0 points after they get stopped again on 3rd down. Now, eventually this would be a game where Ashton Hall would start getting things going, and he even brought his team deep into opposing territory all the way down to the goal line, where on 1st and goal he takes his handoff and just powers his way through for a touchdown, getting in for a score that ends up being huge for Akron as that puts him up in this game. Unfortunately, it would not last long, as not only would Oregon score, but they were out there playing some of the best defense that Ashton Hall had seen all season. He had nowhere to run when he ran, and when he caught the ball, he still really had nowhere to go with it. So by the 4th quarter, Akron would find themselves down by 2 possessions and trying to find a way to get back in this game. Soon though, man, it was less than 2 minutes left, and Akron was down 28-13. Ashton Hall was still out there coming up with some big plays, moving his team downfield, even getting them to the 2nd and goal where he gets in for another touchdown on his season, breathing a little life back into this game as his team's only down 1 possession. But after Oregon continues to pick up first downs, they just kneel out the clock and put this game away, as Ashton Hall's freshman season officially comes to a close with a 28-20 loss. But in a season where he started off by doing all the wrong things, he can't be too upset about ending it off as a starter on a team that made the playoffs. But despite the fact that Ashton had a pretty solid game, he's watching Oregon go to the next round, and it's time for him to move on. Ashton Hall will close the season out with 787 yards rushing with 11 touchdowns, but that would also go with 631 yards through the air with 8 extra scores. Overall, an incredible season for Ashton Hall, and I think at this point he realizes that he deserves better. So going into the offseason, Ashton Hall has decided to enter the transfer portal, where he's going to have a lot more options to choose from than he did as a freshman. So Ashton Hall's definitely going to have some decisions to make, but I'll leave that decision up to you guys. If you want to see more Ashton Hall, be sure to get this video to 1,000 likes and subscribe to the channel down below. Also be sure to comment down below what else you guys want to see next, and check out some of these other stories until the next one comes out. If you guys to this point in the video, just know that I appreciate you more than you'll ever know, and I'm serious. You guys changed my life, and I love making content for you. So I'm looking forward to keeping this train rolling into college football 26. But for now, I'm just going to keep providing you guys with great stories on 25. Other than that though, I'm going to catch you guys next time.